I didn't make them lunch, I didn't remind them to take their vitamins, I didn't fix their broken or answer their questions about school. I barely even looked at them when they spoke. If they wanted a father, they could go find one. One night, I was sitting in the living room when the youngest came in, hesitating before sitting down beside me. Her eyes were downcast, her hands twisting together nervously. "Dad, can we talk?" she asked. I didn't look at her right away. "About what?" I asked. I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I didn't mean what I said. We didn't mean it. I don't know. I didn't think it would hurt you." I let the silence stretch between us. I could feel the weight of her words, but part of me was still angry. I wanted to believe her, but I didn't know if I could just forgive and forget. What if she was just saying the words because it was getting uncomfortable? I turned the page of my book, pretending I hadn't heard her. "You should have thought about that before," I said. Her shoulders slumped, and for a moment, I thought she might cry. But she didn't. She just sat there, staring at the floor, her face pale and tight with regret. I could see the guilt etched into her features, and for a second, I almost felt sorry for her. But then a voice in my head told me that this was exactly what I had wanted. This was the consequence of their actions. It wasn't until the next day that the full impact of my silence started to sink in. My wife came to me, frustration written all over her face. "You've made your point. Why are you punishing them like this?" "I'm not punishing them," I said, my voice calm but my insides a storm. "I'm giving them the space to figure it out. They don't get to just dismiss me and expect everything to go back to normal." She looked at me for a long time, as if searching for something in my expression. Finally, she sighed. "I think they realize what they've done, but you're making it worse. You're not being fair." I stood up, suddenly tired of the conversation. Fair? They're the ones who made this unfair in the first place. The days that followed were a blur of awkward silences, half-hearted attempts at reconciliation, and a growing sense that something was slowly breaking between us all. The girls didn't speak to me much. They didn't ask for anything, didn't even try to hide their discomfort. And for the first time, I could see how deep the divide had become. It was clear they were regretting their words, but was it too late for me to care anymore? It wasn't until the following weekend that the shift finally became undeniable. The girls, who had been avoiding me like the plague for days, started looking at me differently. There was a hesitance in their eyes, a recognition of the absence I had created. They had begun to feel what I had been feeling all along, disconnected, unwanted, and dismissed. It wasn't just about the words they had said anymore, it was the weight of their silence that had finally started to sink in. I had no idea how long I could keep this up. Part of me still wanted to believe that they would realize what they had lost, but another part of me wondered if this was the right way to go about it. Maybe they weren't ready to see it, or maybe they didn't see it at all. One Saturday, my wife asked me to come with her to a parent-teacher conference for the youngest. I hesitated. There was still so much unspoken between us, so much tension that neither of us knew how to navigate. I knew she was hoping that going together might smooth things over, but I didn't want to do anything that felt like pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. "I'll go," I said, my voice flat. We arrived at the school, and the whole atmosphere felt foreign. I hadn't been to one of these in years. My daughter was sitting in her seat, her shoulders hunched, her eyes darting between her mother and me like she was waiting for something to happen. We sat through the meeting with the teacher talking about grades, behavior, and all the usual stuff, but it wasn't the conference that had me on edge. It was the way my daughter wouldn't look at me, the way she barely acknowledged my presence. It was as if I had become invisible. After the meeting, we stood outside the school, the autumn chill biting at our skin. My wife turned to me, her face drawn. "You need to talk to them," she said, her voice low and urgent. "I have talked," I replied, not meeting her eyes. "And they've made it pretty clear how they feel."